Hey friends, welcome back to the Salt and Sandals channel, and today we are going to be going into another food review. This is a new venture by a very dear friend of mine, Osama Jalali, who has been a food critic for many years, and he has now opened his own little place called Village Degh. Now, Village Degh is actually a very traditional style of Indian cooking where no modern appliances are used. What he actually does is he creates the food totally traditional style where spices are ground by hand, the produce is local and sustainable, and you've also got the food which cooks over open fire or chulas instead of gas burners. Even refrigeration is not used in traditional styles. A more pit style of cooling was used to create the food, and that is what Mr. Jalali uses when he is doing his food. So he sent us over some of his really amazing dishes which have been born from his own travels all over the country and from his own childhood in Old Delhi. And we're going to try out some of his dishes and let you know whether you should also try it out. Now guys, this is something, it's very tasty Indian food. It's cooked in a traditional Indian style, and this is something that you must try out. So let's first see how the foods come in. It's got this really amazing packaging where the food is served in earthenware. It's cooked in such earthenware, and it is also sent in these earthenware which is actually known as handis. So you've got the food which is cooked really amazing, and it smells amazing, and it stays really good in these earthenware for a pretty long amount of time. So we're just gonna taste it and then let you know how the food is, what are the dishes. And he's got a huge menu card which is again quite rustic. I mean, this is one of the postcards, and here you go. Here's the menu that he's given out. It's got quite a few of the dishes, and we're going to be trying them out. So let's go, guys. So what we have here are a few of the kebabs. So guys, the first one that we have is the Mirzapur Shammi Kabab, and this I think smells like the vegetarian version, which is actually made of jackfruit. Now jackfruit is used a lot in India to create for meat, and also along with soybean. So those of you who don't like to eat meat, like vegan food, you can actually try this out. Jackfruit is really amazing and gives a really amazing flavor to the meat itself. I'm just going to dig into this kebab. Here you go. I mean, see, the texture is quite like meat itself, kinds, and I'm just gonna It's so good. The spices are so well balanced in this kebab, and the fibers just kind of like break apart. It's something that you must try out from this menu. So we're gonna dig in and see the other kebab. Actually, this I think is what you call the ghost kebab, and let's dig into it. It also smells amazing. Yeah. I mean, the texture is so good, and the flavors of the spices just kind of like peek through all through the dish. So both the Shammi kebabs are given out in groups of 8, and Shammi kebab is quite a difficult kebab to actually get right because the softness and the texture has to be really good. The meat has to be ground down to a very fine consistency, but it should not lose its structure, and that is what the Shammi kebab is all about. Other dish that we're going to try out now, he sent me quite a few of the curries that you can actually have. He's got quite a few dishes which are really amazing curries. He's got a Shahjahanabadi Nalli Nihari, which is actually Old Delhi. I mean, if you don't know that, Old Delhi was actually built by Shah Jahan, so it's known as Shahjahanabad. Then he's got the Faridkot meat curry, which is actually from, I think, Pakistan, Punjab. And this is something that's again really amazing. We have got some Behram Khan Dal Gosht, which is again something that comes from Old Delhi. He also has a chicken curry and a Rampuri chicken kofte. So Rampur is somewhere he has got a lot of ancestors from, and Rampur actually draws in between the Delhi Sultanate and the Awadh Empire, or which is you knew as the Mughal Empire in Agra. So it's right between those two, and it takes over the influences of those two places and makes some really amazing food. So, without further ado, let's dig into the Faridkot meat curry and let you know how it actually tastes. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of clarified butter in it, and it's going to be really amazing because he cooks most of it food in this clarified butter. And I'm just going to dig in and give you a small taste of what it tastes like. It's surprisingly light. I mean, you would associate Indian dishes with being very heavy and being very rich on masalas, but that's the whole thing. I mean, if you actually cook it in a proper technique, it's only a few masalas that actually give it those subtle, beautiful flavors. Obviously, the clarified butter does help. Ghee is something that has been used in this country for, you know, generations, decades, centuries, uh, kingdoms. So this is something. This is a really authentic, robust dish. Although this does have that, you know, spicy flavor, it is going to have that spice that hits upon your palate. But again, it's not very overpowering and allows the, you know, the taste of the meat to actually kind of come through. And now the next dish that I'm kind of like going to dig into is the Langar ki dal. Now, if you've been to the northern part of India in Amritsar or to any Gurdwara, which is actually a temple for the Sikh community, you would know that this is something that's a quintessential part of their cuisine. You know, dal is something that they cook very well, and the reason behind a lot of the flavors that actually come through is because it's a slow and low cooking. I mean, it's something that cooks for a very long time on a slow flame, creating those flavors, you know, allowing the flavors to mix in together. I'm just gonna dig in. Mm. This is so smooth, and you know, the flavors of the spices are there. Obviously, again, a North Indian dish. It's got a lot of robust flavors, but these pulses also take a lot of the flavor in and create that smooth, creamy flavor that you're always gonna love. Another of the meat dishes that we're gonna try out from his tables is the Nalli Nihari. Now, if you don't know what the Nalli is, actually, it's the shank bone, and you have the meat sticking to it. It's supposed to be cooked for a very, very long time. And this is again an old Delhi specialty. So you gotta kind of like, you know, taste it out and kind of like get into it. I'm just gonna dig in with my bare hands actually because you need to tear the meat with this one. Mm. Again, very good flavors, and that hit of ginger kind of like really comes through. Now, a lot of people are really confused about how food became so spicy in Delhi. This was something to do when actually the Delhi, you know, the Mughal Empire shifted to Delhi. It was known as Shahjahanabad, as I've said earlier. But the whole thing is that the food here was actually influenced by the water here, which is the Yamuna River. People were getting a lot of GI diseases. They were getting diarrhea. They were getting dysentery. So somehow the doctors at that point of time, who were Vads and Hakims at that point of time, actually suggested that they add a lot of spices to the food. So the food became spicy and rich during that part of time. You know, the initial part of Mughal Empire, and even if you eat a lot of the Afghani food, it's not that spicy. But this definitely is going to be spicy. It is going to be robust. But if you can handle a bit of the spice, the flavors are really amazing. We're gonna dig into some dessert. So we've got the Kheer here, which is a quintessential North Indian dessert. I think it's a bit frozen because I put it in the freezer to, you know, enhance the flavors. But I'm gonna dig into this anyhow and let you know. I mean, this is one dessert that you must be having wherever you stay. I mean, I kind of like dig into it. If I had a chance to eat it every day, I'd go ahead and do that. But this is something that I find here. It's a rich dessert. It's got quite a few, you know, fruits, dry fruits over it. Let me just dig into it. Mm. This is just so amazing. The richness of the milk, and obviously the amount of, a little bit of rice in there. You've got all the different, flavoring spices, and you've got all these dry fruits put over it. This is something that's really, really amazing. And, you got to different try it out. His food, Osama's food from Village Degh is something that you must try out. I mean, if you're from Delhi, you can order in pretty easily. It's going to be deliverable. If you're living in Gurgaon, it's quite easy. He's going to be delivering there. So if you're staying indoors during this lockdown, you've got to try out this food and let us know in the comments below how you like the food. So guys, talking about a few more of the curries that he had sent us. One of them is actually a pulses dish. So he used to stay, Osama used to stay in Old Delhi, and there was this one person, Bhairam Khan, who actually used to make chicken, which was, or mutton actually, which was made along with the dal itself. So it used to be known as dal ghost. That's something that he's recreated again, and the flavors of it obviously are kind of like robust, but they are quite earthy too along with that. So I'm just gonna dig in and show you guys how it kind of like looks. It's obviously a lot of the pulses that have kind of like come in. He's obviously slow cooked it for some time, and the flavors I'm just gonna pop in. There's quite a bit of heat and sourness to this dish itself, but because it's so much of pulses and the meat put in both together, it's a very high protein dish. And this is something, okay, this is quite a bit hot here. Getting it at the back of the throat, but really amazing flavors again, and he's kind of like aced this one absolutely. Let's get to a vegetarian curry now. So paneer is something that is eaten quite often in North India. Cottage cheese, as you know, is something that is used quite often in India, and we're going to be tasting a curry which comes out of Ranikhet. Again, it's some place in North India, and we're going to taste out how this food looks like now. Let's take a bit of the cottage cheese and the curry along with it. Obviously the cottage cheese is quite soft, and the flavors that go along with are going to be quite tangy and spicy. Again, a good effect of robust flavors. But it's the last dish that I've been hungering for quite a bit amount of time. This is something that he ate when he was heading over to Pakistan to visit some relatives. This is in Atari, which is the border outpost of India, and he found a very amazing chicken curry here. So I'm just gonna try that out and see how that kind of like goes. Obviously something from Punjab is obviously going to be robust and filled up with flavors, so you're just gonna dig into this. It looks quite amazing again. Yeah. This is a full-on blast of Punjabi masalas that you can actually find in this dish. The chicken's done quite well, and the flavors are absolutely amazing. And the whole of the food of Village Degh kind of like emphasizes that robust flavors that North India is going to have. And again, if you are hunkering from some North Indian curries, some good kebabs that have been cooked the old slow way, do check into Village Degh. I'm going to be putting down the links below to how for you to order along, and the menu too, so you guys can order and have some really amazing food.